Welcome to Potter Revisited, episode 100. I'm Tori.
And I'm Shay.
Today we are covering chapter 2 of Order of the Phoenix, A Peck of Owls.
Or, as we like to call it, even in a fantasy world, the legal system still sucks.
Well, before we kind of go in the episode, I just want to say thank you for getting us to 100 episodes. I can't believe we're still doing this.
Me neither. Shout out to our moms.
And anyone who has listened in the past. And we are attempting to do something fun to celebrate 100 episodes. So we'll see if I get around to that. But going into this chapter, we left off with the first chapter where two Dementors attacked Harry and Dudley. And then Mrs. Figg shows up and she knows about magic.
Which is quite the shocker to poor little Harry.
So Mrs. Figg is talking about Mr. Tibbles, which I assume is one of her cats. And she said that she was talking to him and he was on the case. So what's going on with these cats?
Yeah, I think maybe Mrs. Figg isn't entirely a squib. She has some specific magic and it just so happens to express itself in the form of animal communication. So she knows what her cats are intending to say or saying, and they know what she's saying. And so her cats and her can have conversations, and she can send them out to do spy work, you know?
Yeah, because it sounds like Mr. Tibbles was spying on Harry, keeping an eye on him.
It does kind of feel like we should be permitted more information on these cats. They sound kind of rad.
Yeah.
I want to hear about these cats that have conversations with this woman and know about the wizarding world and go on quests. It's what we deserve. It's the content that we wish we got from the author instead of finding out she's a monster, you know?
Or other weird stuff she would put out.
That nobody asks for. Another thing about this chapter is we are just once again reminded how completely unlikable Dudley is. He's such a brat. And I know it's his parents' fault they raised him this way and they encourage this behavior, but my gosh, do I want someone to beat this kid up? You know, I'm not even sad for him when the Dementors come out. I'm like, oh, are you experiencing sadness for the first time in your spoiled brat life? Good. Welcome to the real world, Dudley.
Well, he was beating up, children earlier that evening, so...
He had it coming.
Karma's a bitch. Maybe. But Dudley's, dissociating because Mrs. Figg is, stressing to Harry, you gotta get back to your house, we gotta get a word to Dumbledore, this is really urgent, and Dudley's just, slumped on the floor, eyes rolling back. Is he dissociating? Is he in shock? We don't know.
Yeah. I think it's interesting how much he's affected. I guess because it's magic and he's a muggle and he's never had magic. I mean, he's had magic used against him lightly, but he's never had something as horrible as this happen to him that's magical. But I'm trying to understand what Dudley would hear, what he would see, what, experience he's reliving when the Dementors approach. Because, his life has been completely privileged from day one. He's just a spoiled brat. What's the worst thing that ever happened to him? He asked for something and his parents were oh, we can't get it right now. Is that the trauma he's reliving? He got the red bicycle. He wanted the blue bicycle. I just can't imagine. Compared to people like Harry or just even a normal person who isn't a completely spoiled brat, I'm really struggling to understand what he's living through right now.
Yeah, it's interesting because also he's a muggle too, so we don't know how it could differ, if it affects him differently because he doesn't have magic. Because Ron and Hermione have explained the Dementors feeling they just sucks the happiness and they feel dread and all the joy is gone. They don't experience it like Harry experiences it.
Yeah.
And it seems like Dudley's kind of experience it like Harry does, where Harry hears things in his head and relives the worst moments of his life. But like you said, Dudley's life's been very privileged at this point.
Is it the tail? Is he just reliving the time Fred and George gave him a tail? Or no, the tongue toffee. It's probably worse than the tail from Hagrid.
I mean, yeah, he has had some terrible experiences with magic.
But they're so brief and not that traumatizing. I kind of just feel meh.
I mean, I guess privilege doesn't exclude you from having trauma, I guess I should say.
Yeah, I guess. Yeah. I mean, I also think maybe it's when you're a younger person who hasn't experienced a lot of bad things, little things that happen to you feel so much grander and more life-shattering. And maybe it's because he's had so little experience with sadness or trauma that this is the worst thing he's ever experienced in his life is seeing this Dementor or experiencing this Dementor. So he's experiencing it to the same level as suffering as someone like Harry would experience, like being under the Cruciatus Curse or something, because it is the worst thing that's ever happened to him, and he has no comparison. So it's just like, yep, this is actually the worst, and we will fully take it as the worst thing that will ever happen, you know?
Well, I think I have a point about that bit later, so we can talk more about Dudley and his experiences. But Mrs. Figg is really urgent to, like, get them back to the house, and Harry keep his wand out, because what if they come back and Dungeness Fletcher, she's so pissed off at him.
As she should be.
It's really funny. Harry finally gets Dudley up and they're kind of walking back. He's kind of like, Mrs. Figg, why didn't you tell me that you knew about magic? Like, that could have been nice to know. And Mrs. Figg reveals that Dumbledore didn't want Harry to know that she knew about the magical world. And, like, what's his motivation for this? Like, I get when he's a kid, but, like...
Yeah.
It would just been nice to know. And then she did say that, like, oh, the Dursleys never would have let you come over if you were having fun or, like, a good time. But, like, when Harry's older, he probably could have, like, put on.
Yeah, exactly. When he's younger, he wouldn't have been able to lie about liking her and getting to talk about cool stuff. But when he's older, he could probably handle it, pretending to have had a miserable time at her house. And I just think he would have felt so much safer knowing there was a magical person nearby. Like, realistically, if Miss Figg wasn't there when this happened, Harry could have gotten kissed by a Dementor and died, and no one would know what happened to Harry Potter because the Dursleys aren't going to tell anyone and no one will ever know. Like, just the idea that if something magical and dangerous happens, there's someone aware of the magical world who has the ability to contact his magical community and magical friends would have been so comforting to know. Like, I just think he deserved to know that there's someone there. You know, if he walks into the Dursleys' house one day and they're all dead and long live Lord Voldemort is written on the wall or something, there's somewhere he can run to. He doesn't have to wait for an owl to fly somewhere, you know?
It's just another why Dumbledore moment, because it's like, did he just want Harry to feel isolated and alone?
Yeah. I also kind of wonder about Miss Figg's motivations. Like, she spends her time and takes a lot of risks to help Harry here, and clearly she's been watching him for a while, looking out for him for years. And is it just because she's, like, the nicest, sweetest lady ever, and he's a nice young boy, and he's Harry Potter? Or do you think that, like, her and Filch both sort of serve as examples of how Dumbledore will take advantage of people, specifically Squibs, by offering them continued access to the wizarding world in exchange for service and loyalty to him?
Yeah.
Because, like, Filch wants to be involved in magic, and he wants to know magic and do magic. And being able to work at a magical school, as stressful and much as he hates it, is still access to that world. And same with Miss Figg. She just lives in a quiet neighborhood full of muggles, but Dumbledore gives her the ability to call and talk to magical people, to participate in supervising a very important magical child. Like, is this just part of his motivation? And does he specifically seek out Squibs because he knows what they want most is access to that world they're struggling to maintain access to? Like,
yeah, I can definitely see that. Because I feel like it must be so isolating to, like, they don't have a place for Squibs really in the wizarding world. They're just kind of like, oh, you don't have magic, even though you were raised with magic. You gotta, like, we don't have any spot for you. Just leave.
Yeah.
And so I can see that, like, you're basically, like, you were kicked out of the only life you've known. And you're just expected to adapt to, like, this muggle world that, like, you really don't have any connection to.
Yeah. And so just to have access, you know, like, it gives him such an opening to manipulate and take advantage. Dumbledore.
And I see them not having magic, them wanting to, like, kind of give back. Like, they want to help. Mrs. Figg wants to help. She knows how important Harry is and everything, but they feel like they can't do anything because they don't have proper magic. And so this is, like, the one thing that she can do, like, oh, I'm helping.
I also think it's interesting how deeply ingrained in him the sort of training the Dursleys put into him is. Like, he keeps trying to put his wand away despite Miss Figg saying, keep your wand out. And, like, the Dementors just attacked. That is his worst fear. Is his actual legitimate worst fear is Dementors. But because the Dursleys ingrained into him so much the importance of seeming normal above all else, he's putting his wand away and prioritizing not letting the neighbors see his wand over not potentially being attacked by Dementors. Like, it's such a perfect example of how much they've screwed him up and how, like, how many unhealthy habits he's gained from just their priorities over what's actually realistically should be prioritized in situations like this. Like, it's scary to see him putting that wand away and trying to out of habit, you know? Like, there are worse things than your neighbor seeing you holding a stick, Harry Potter, you know? And then he gets back to the Dursleys' house, and I just can't believe how stupid they are.
It's quite a moment when they come back. So Harry and them finally come in, and so Petunia's, like, waiting up for Dudley, because as they said last chapter, that they just kind of, like, whenever Dudley comes home, that's, like, the curfew. So they don't even care about like where Harry is. But they see that he's not well, so they're just like, oh no, what happened? Like, did you get sick at your friend's house? Because that's where they thought he was. Vernon says, did you have something foreign for tea? Which is just...
Oh, Vernon.
It just stuck out to me. I'm just like, Vernon. But then they kind of thought that they think that he's been mugged because they see that he's kind of like... He throws up on the doorstep. He looks like he's been in the mud, and he doesn't look well. So, like, did someone mug you in the... Like, where were you? And then they're going to call the cops and stuff. And Harry's just like, you know what? I don't really give a shit about this. I got stuff to do. He has things he needs to know. He wants to talk to his friends. So he's trying to sneak away. But then they're just kind of like, what happened? What did you do? And Dudley blames Harry. He's like, what happened to you? And he's just like, him. Harry's like, what the fuck, man?
To be fair, Harry was holding his wand towards Dudley when it happened, and Dudley can't see the Dementors.
Yeah.
So, as far as Dudley knows, Harry pointed wand, bad thing happened. Harry pointed wand again, different thing happened. But he probably wasn't paying attention to the Patronus because he was distracted by having just been, in the presence of Dementors. But I just think it's so stupid how, first of all, the Dursleys' first reaction is, our poor sweet little Diddykins must have been mugged. Meanwhile, Dudley was out there mugging children. Like, that's what he does for fun. And also, it's so stupid that, like, they think Harry would attack Dudley and then bring him home. Like, to me, if Harry decided, that's it, I've had enough, I'm attacking Dudley with magic, he's not bringing Dudley home then to face the consequences of having attacked Dudley and make sure Petunia can check on Dudley. That's not what he's doing. He's booking it. He's leaving. He's like, well, I've done a crime. Felt good, he had it coming, but I should probably be on the lam now. Like, I'm on the run. Like, he's not bringing him back, like, oops-a-daisy, I got mad and cursed Dudley, and he's all fucked up now. Whoops. Like, that's not what's happening. It's just not. It's not what's happening. And it's just, like, the fact that they can't imagine Dudley ever doing anything wrong, ever lying, ever misspeaking. They just think he's the perfect sweet baby angel, and he's such a monster. They really are the kind of parents that teachers just despise. They will never believe that their child could be anything else than perfect. And he's totally the kid that I'm sure the school calls home about all the time. Your child was bullying other kids. Your child was a disruption in class. And they're like, not our little Diddykins. He's a flawless baby angel. And so he continues to be a danger and a bully and terrible to those around him. And the school has no way of dealing with that because his parents are so... just view him in such a gilded light. It's exhausting. It's
interesting reading this and just knowing the churn that Dudley has in the beginning of Deathly Hallows. That's something I feel like had to happen between, I guess, now and Half-Blood Prince to Deathly Hallows, where he's like grown up a bit and kind of like, I don't know, maybe done some self-reflection.
Yeah, and I kind of doubt they sent him to therapy because he's perfect. Why would he need it? So my guess is like...
No, it's definitely something he did on his own.
Yeah, well, like that's like, he's probably 17, 16 in those books. So I wonder if like he hit puberty early, so he was bigger than all the other kids at school, so he's a bully. And then the other kids caught up and he wasn't the biggest anymore. And maybe he was the butt of some of the bullying and some of the like repercussions of his earlier actions. And so he was forced to sort of realize the reality. And also that's kind of the age you start paying more attention to like the world as itself. And he's probably learning about actual bad things that happen in the world. Like, wow, people got robbed the other day. There's a war happening. And like, even if you're a dick, you're like, wow, these people went to war and died. And he's starting to like learn that bad, scary, big things happen in the world. And then he's remembering some of the things Harry's talked about or mentioned and he's heard. And he's like, oh, not only have this shit been happening, I'm not paying attention, but it's been like directly happening and kind of impacting this kid at home that I abuse. That's, oops. You know, like I wonder if it's just the age where he starts realizing about global impact and like it's all coming around now. And he's like, oh, interesting. Harry, I was complaining about not getting a second slice of pie and Harry was mourning the death of someone he watched murdered in front of him. That's rough, I guess. Comparable to the pie incident, obviously, but rough.
There's some owls that come for like the last half of the chapter.
Yeah, Harry's finally getting his, like, mail updates on the fact that Miss Figg got the message out that shit hit the fan. And honestly, he's just getting this sudden onslaught, right? Like, an owl flies in, drops a letter, he reads it. Next owl flies in, drops a letter, he reads it. 2 more owls come. And it's just, like, very much reminds me of, like, being at work, signed into Teams, and, like, something goes wrong or shit hits the fan, and you just get ping, 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 ping. And you're like, oh, no, I'm not sure what's happened yet. I haven't fully processed it, but it's probably not good. Everything is definitely on fire. I just have to find the fire, you know?
Yeah, so Harry receives a few letters, and the first letter obviously is the classic ministry letter that he got like kind of in second year, where they're like, you did magic outside of school in front of a muggle. And then in this letter, it's just kind of like, yeah, so you're expelled, but also you need to come to the ministry for a disciplinary hearing. And I'm just like, well, he's a minor that's been like expelled from school. So like, what discipline are you going to do? It's
a different letter. I think the first letter is you're expelled. You need to hand over your wand. The second letter is actually there's a hearing.
No, it's mentioned in the first letter, which was that's why I was confused. Yeah, because they're like, yeah, someone's going to come take your wand, and then you have to come do a disciplinary hearing at the end of the summer. And I'm just like, well, if you're taking his wand and you expelled him, you're basically just kicked him out of like, the wizarding world. Like, he lives with muggles, so I'm like, what's the point for this? You're gonna like arrest and jail a minor?
I don't know. Maybe they have like rehabilitation programs for wizards. Like, you need to learn how to transition into life without your wand. They probably don't. That would be great and beneficial, but they do not have that, I'm sure.
Yeah, but I was just kind of like, I always assumed that like, oh, they kick him out and they're just like, we're going to come take your wand, you're expelled, game over. And then later on, they're just like, oh, there's going to be a hearing instead. But no, maybe their process is like, they want to have a hearing where they like, are like, you did this bad thing.
Public shaming? I don't know.
Yeah, I don't know. It just felt weird.
Yeah, especially because like obviously with due process, which should exist but doesn't, you'd think it's like, okay, this is what you've done. As of now, you are expelled. We will see if that's going to hold up and what further actions we'll take upon the hearing. The idea that like he's immediately expelled and they're going to destroy his wand before hearing anything is just unhinged. Like, it really is. It's not justice to already have decided the punishment before you even know any details of the crime. Like, there's so many things that could have gone wrong, right? Like, it could have been a glitch in the underage magic monitoring system. That happens all the time, that kind of stuff. It could have been self-defense. It could have been justified. There's so many things that could make it not a total crime for him to have used magic. It makes me wonder how many innocent witches and wizards have lost their wands this way. Like, just because they didn't happen to be friends with Dumbledore, who could intervene and say, no, we need due process.
I feel like this is definitely showing that the ministry's even more corrupt, because Harry's not really paying attention to how the view of him and Dumbledore has changed. He's just looking at the news to see if they know Voldemort's out yet, which they don't. So he's all just like, doesn't care about that. But it's showing the little things where I think this situation where Harry received a warning when Dobby came, and he even couldn't really fight that, being like, well, I didn't do the magic, and a house elf did. And he's just blamed for it. And here, it's just like, I think in normal circumstances, they'd be like, well, you did it in front of a muggle and public, like, that's not okay. We're going to suspend you from school. And then here's the hearing for you to kind of like plead your case. But because it's Harry and the ministry just wants to get rid of him, they're just like, yeah, you're expelled. We're going to come take your wand. We're getting rid of you. Like, taking out their political enemy.
It's just crazy to me because, like, Priori and Cantatum can't be the only way to figure out the spells a wand has done. I almost guarantee there's actually an intentional spell you could do on a wand to see what the most recent 3 spells were or whatever. So they could see that the only thing he did was a Patronus. And I'm sure it'd be traumatizing a little bit to see a magical glowing deer walking around if you're a muggle. But, like, they'd know it wasn't an attack spell. You know? Like, they have all these ways to investigate, and they just don't bother to use any of them.
I always think, though, it's interesting because going back to, like, Chamber of Secrets and now, the only magic Harry's done, like, in front of muggles, which is what they say in the letter, is that these muggles are his cousin and, like, his family. So they're aware of magic. It's not like he did it in front of a muggle who didn't know what magic was and, like, kind of, like, risk.
Well, Marge didn't know, right? His Aunt Marge didn't know.
Well, that was unintentional. Like, I'm thinking like intentional magic. He did the Dementors intentionally in front of his cousin to save him. And he was blamed for what Dobby did, which was in front of, I guess it was in front of other muggles. But in this case, like, I feel like they have the rule, obviously, but there's certain situations I feel like it should be kind of like a gray area because, yes, he shouldn't be doing magic because he's not in school and he's not fully trained yet, but also like these muggles know about magic, so it's not really risking like the statue's secrecy because they're aware of it because they're raising him, they're his like guardians, I
guess. But he did do it in the street. Like, Miss Figg saw it. It could have been a neighbor that wasn't Miss Figg. It could have been you old George down the road who runs a mail out leaflet about local strange happenings in the town, you know?
Yeah, but that's just because they reference Dudley like in the letter, like, you did it in front of a muggle, and he's like, well, it's my cousin and he knows. Magic.
Do you remember his tail and his tongue? Like, he's seen some shit.
Also, Hagrid did magic in front of him, and no one cared.
No one knows Hagrid did anything, because he said, best not mention that to anybody at Hogwarts.
The letter is signed, "Hope you are doing well, Mathilda Hopkins," or whatever her name is.
Your life is over, you can't see your friends, you can't do magic.
Yeah, she literally just wrote this letter. It's just like, basically, you're expelled from Hogwarts, someone's coming from the Ministry to come destroy your wand. Hope you are well.
It's like, I'm not.
It's like when you get those letters or like emails from like work where it's like, everything's wrong, you had to fix this, it's all your fault, hope you're doing well.
Yeah, exactly. It's actually, your email is not finding me well. I think it's interesting that I don't know if this is exactly the norm in the order of operations when these types of crimes occur, but I think it's very interesting that destroying Harry's wand is like an immediate reaction. Like, we will be destroying your wand. And it makes me wonder if some of the Death Eaters who are working internally at the Ministry were involved in this, because it makes it sound like they were thinking Harry would be attacked all summer, which makes sense because Voldemort's out there. But I wonder if part of this is internal Ministry Death Eaters trying to push for Harry's wand to be destroyed because they all witnessed the Priori Incantatem. Like, maybe Voldemort's like, that's fucking weird, something's up with his wand. Primary goal, kill Harry Potter, but if we manage to find a legal, non-shady, not at all involving any public knowledge of Death Eaters' involvement way of getting that wand destroyed, that's good. And that's a very good plan. Like, clearly his wand is doing shit. We don't want to make our lives any harder. You work at the Ministry, suggest that his wand be destroyed before anyone has a chance to look into any reasons why he may have used it. Because it seems like a good plan for the Death Eaters. And, like, it would benefit Voldemort a lot if Harry's wand got destroyed this early on in the franchise. So, like, I wonder if that's sort of an underlying cause for how quick they are to destroy the wand, because to me it seems like they would confiscate the wand, investigate what it did, then destroy it. Even in a shitty government body, you'd think first thought is destroy the wand, then worry about consequences later. Like, seems silly.
Yeah, it feels very much like destroy the evidence.
Exactly. But also, it's Harry's wand. And I'm like, I wonder if that's what it is. I wonder if it's Lucius and all the other shady...
We do know, yeah, that Lucius has lots of sway, especially now with Cornelius.
And they've got, like, pious thickness or whatever. Like, they've got quite a few internal Death Eaters in the Ministry. So, like, it seems like a good plan.
Well, I don't think Pius is under the Imperius curse yet. I think that's more Deathly Hallows.
Yeah, okay. Well, they still clearly have a fair few Death Eaters, and probably some people who, now that they know Voldemort are back, are willing to become a Death Eater to save their own ass. So, like, there's all these underlying things, and it just seems so interesting now looking back on, like, how quickly they're like, we're going to take and destroy Harry Potter's wand is, like, an ideal situation for Voldemort right now.
Yeah, so it's interesting. I was looking back at this and comparing it to Prisoner of Azkaban, where Harry does magic unintentionally, and then his immediate thought was, I'm going to be, like arrested. So he's like, I'm going to run away and leave this all behind me. And here he kind of did do magic, and they kind of do want to arrest him. And now he's just like, well, fuck this, I'm leaving. I need answers. So he's kind of like in his head, he's kind of antagonizing Vernon, and he's just like, at this point, he's just like, I'm leaving. I don't care what happened to Dudley. I'm getting out of here. I'm expelled. I can do what I want.
Fuck you. I do crime.
But then the next letters come, and they're from Sirius and Mr. Weasley, which are, basically being like, stay where you are, don't do anything stupid.
Mr. Weasley's is much more helpful than Sirius. Mr. Weasley's like, look, we're looking into it. We're gonna try and prevent the wand thing. We're just stay put for now. You'll be safe. You'll hear from us. And to me, that's like what you want in a quick, sudden, they don't know everything yet reply. It's just like, we're looking into it. Don't worry. Don't make this worse for yourself by doing any more magic. Stay where you're safe. And Sirius is just like, stay there. But Harry's like, fuck you, Sirius.
Well, I think it's also this point that Harry is just really frustrated because we spoke last chapter about how he's so isolated and alone dealing with the fallout of Goblet of Fire, and he's really angry, and he's more angry at his friends because he just feels like he's not being given information. And it's hard for Ron and Hermione too, because they were kind of put in the situation. But also Sirius is just, I feel like it also coming from Sirius is unhelpful because Sirius was like on the run for most of Goblet of Fire. And he can probably really relate to how Harry's feeling right now. But he's still just being like, don't be stupid, Harry. I'm like coming from the most like unhinged godfather, the most impulsive man.
Yeah, he's really... stupid doer ever. The most... His first reaction, he would have immediately tacked the Dursleys, been like, I'm going to jail anyway. Huzzah. Like, it's simply...
Like, yeah, I think he hates getting these kind of things from Sirius because Sirius is the most impulsive, like...
Yeah, he's such a hypocrite.
Do first, think later person. And yeah, he's like, out of everyone, Mr. Weasley has like, you know, typical information. He's at the Ministry. He's working on the stuff legally with Dumbledore.
Yeah, he's helping, and he wouldn't have freaked out. Like, Mr. Weasley would have stopped and thought about what he was doing. Mr. Weasley wouldn't have decided, oh, well, I'm screwed, might as well do all the magic. You know, like, Mr. Weasley isn't being a hypocrite. He's saying what he would do and giving Harry information on why he should be doing that. And then Sirius is just like, don't be like me.
Mr. Weasley, I feel like Harry can like listen to him when he says like, stay where you are, we're figuring it out. Harry's like, okay. Arthur's like, you know, he's the dad. He's at the Ministry. He's figuring stuff out. He kind of is like, okay, that makes sense. I feel a bit better about that.
Yeah, and he's not saying, like, just stay there. He's telling Harry we're working on it. So Harry isn't like, what's going on? He's like, okay, they're working on it. It's sort of like, as someone who listens to true crime, you hear a lot of 911 phone calls. And oftentimes the 911 operator is still asking the person who called questions like, are they breathing? Blah, blah, blah. And the person on the phone doesn't want to answer those questions. They're like, are you coming? Are you on the way? And the 911 operator is just like, and check their pulse. And are there any weapons in the house? And like, they don't stop to say, we've already sent people, they're on the way, while they're on the way to you. Because it makes you feel like the next step you need to happen hasn't started yet. And so you don't give a shit about the follow-up questions. You're just like, are you coming or not? And Arthur Weasley did we are actively doing what needs to be done. It's happening right now. This is what you need to be doing while that happens. He doesn't like not answer that urgent question about like, is help happening? Yes, the help is absolutely happening. And, like, I think that is so important in an urgent situation to know that the thing your brain needs most, which is, like, the cops and the ambulance to come or Dumbledore and Mr. Weasley to be involved in the situation, to know that's happening makes it easier for your brain to calm down and be like, okay.
I think it's also easier for Harry to be mad at Sirius because they have, like, a different relationship than he has to Mr. Weasley. And also, like we said here, Sirius is being pretty hypocritical because he's done shit like this and he's now telling Harry to, like, you know, be calm.
Yeah. I also think it's interesting that, like, once Harry gets Mr. Weasley's letter and he's like, okay, I am going to stay here. They are working on it. I feel like if this were in the States, this is when Harry would call his fancy lawyer. Harry has a buttload of money. We know that there's wizard lawyer type things out there. And he has a bunch of money. To me, this is when, like, okay, now you sit down and you write a letter. Dear lawyer, there were Dementors, this happened, this happened, this happened. These are the, like, and your lawyer goes and assists Mr. Weasley and Dumbledore with the fact that he's an actual legal representative who's paid and can do this, and then shows up at your trial and defends you. Like, Harry underutilizes the fact that he has buttloads of money and could just have a good lawyer. Like, he could have sued Rita Skeeter for defamation ages ago. You know, he could have sued the Ministry for this. Fuck it, he could sue the Dursleys for abuse. Like, there are such things as people who exist in the magic and wizarding world. People who married a muggle and are a wizard, squibs, the parents of muggle-born children. Like, he could also probably use wizard money to somehow pay for a muggle lawyer and sue the shit out of the Dursleys for abusing him and neglecting him. Like, there are all these things he could be doing.
I'm thinking of him starting, like, a class action lawsuit against Hogwarts for just all, like, the shit that happens to the students.
Yeah, gross negligence, absolutely. Like, these are all the things that, like, I know it would be boring to read about Harry's, but, like, I feel like afterwards, like, book 8 of the Harry Potter franchise could have been like, now that Harry has calmed down and destroyed Voldemort, he's accurately following up on all of his legal claims about shit that shouldn't have happened to children. Like,
he's filing all his lawsuits and class actions and suing the shit out of everyone.
Yeah.
As they deserve.
Honestly, I just think sometimes, Harry, let loose. Spend some of that money.
Yeah, so Harry decides that, you know, after Mr. Weasley, and, well, more because it's Mr. Weasley's letter, not Sirius's, that he's going to stay. And the Dursleys are still kind of being like, what the hell happened to our son? And Dudley mentions that Harry did this to him. He's like, and Harry's continually saying, like, I didn't do this. There was Dementors there. Like I was saving you. And Doug's like, I heard voices in my head, because Petunia's asking him, like, well, what happened to you?
Yeah.
And so this is kind of showing that, like, he did kind of have, like, something happen to him, not just, like, the feeling of dread and like misery that like most people say that they do feel with Dementors. Like he did feel that, but he said that he heard voices in his head. So like we said, like what did he hear? Like what would it be, like an internal thing of just things that were happening to him, or would it be things people have said to him, maybe at school or something? Like it's very open-ended.
Or does it work like a nightmare for people who haven't had real trauma, where they imagine the worst things their subconscious brain can possibly imagine, which is like his parents deciding they like Harry more because he's magic and kicking him out and giving Harry all his toys or whatever, you know?
But here it's interesting because when Harry's explaining like what happened, Petunia knows what Dementors are. And it's interesting because when he's so shocked that she knows what Dementors are because she never talks anything about magic. And she says that awful boy when she references that she heard Lily and that awful boy talking about them. And so as readers, we think, oh, that awful boy must be her husband, James, when really it's Snape.
And it's funny because if Harry knew that, he could be like, oh yeah, that guy is awful. I agree. Carry on. Like,
yeah.
The one thing they have in common.
And then Harry reveals that Voldemort has returned. And I don't know, despite, like, the Dursleys treat him terribly and everything, but, like, despite all of that, shouldn't they be informed that Voldemort had returned? Because they are harboring, like, him and this dark, evil guys after their nephew killed people. Like, shouldn't they be aware that, like, oh yeah, he's not dead anymore? Or not gone anymore?
So, like, be careful. I wonder if it was like balancing the risk reward. Like, what could the Dursleys do in their day-to-day life differently if they knew Voldemort was out there? Kinda nothing. And what might they do if they find out Voldemort is out there? Kick Harry Potter out of the house because it'll make Dudley safer. So, like, maybe they're like, yes, there's no point. They don't need to know that. It's just going to stress them out and there's nothing they can do about it. If Voldemort shows up to kill Harry, even if the Dursleys were expecting it, what are they going to lock the door? Like, Vernon coming at him with a bat? Like...
Yeah, so there's a moment when Harry says Voldemort's back. Him and Petunia kind of share this moment where he kind of sees her more as like the sister of his mother. She's showing some emotion regarding that.
Yeah.
And it's very interesting because, yeah, he kind of has like he compares her to what he knows of his mother and like their appearances and stuff and how he never really connects it because they're so different and stuff. But here she's like being quite vulnerable. And it's a very interesting moment.
Because even if she didn't like her sister very much, she certainly lost a sibling, and that's traumatic. And also hearing that someone you know was murdered brutally is, you know, in itself scary. She understands more than Vernon. I think Vernon just knows, oh, a bad wizard killed Harry's parents. That's what they get for being involved in magic.
Yeah, she wants to separate herself from magic because we do learn later on that she wanted to have magic. She was jealous that she was not magical and Lily was. And so she took that out on her and then tried to, I guess, like change her point of view or like, actually, I don't want magic. So she's like repressed all that feelings down. And so now it's kind of coming up now that she's not intentionally like hiding it. And it's interesting that you said that, like, they would probably throw him out because that's what Vernon does as soon as he finds out Voldemort's back. And he's like, well, wait a minute, like, actually, like, why are we harboring you anyway if this murder is after you? Like, these Dementors were here for you, obviously. He's making all the connections. And he's like, Dudley's been attacked. Like, I guess I can't really blame him for being like all these things are after you. I don't want you in my house. Yeah, but he kind of goes on a rant being like, we should have done this like ages ago and like kicked you out and thrown you in an orphanage or whatever.
Yeah.
And this is when they get a howler and all it says is, remember my last Petunia. And Harry describes it being an awful voice. They're all freaked out. And then Petunia throws Vernon for a loop because she's just like, he has to stay. And she doesn't really explain herself. And he's like, but Petunia, dear, like this murderer is after him. Poor Dudley. And she's like, nope, has to stay. And Harry's very, very concerned. How does Petunia know someone with magic? So we know later on that Dumbledore did write this letter and send it to Petunia. But obviously he wrote them in the beginning of the series, when we have that first chapter, The Boy Who Lived, Dumbledore says that he has a letter explaining everything for Harry's guardians. So is that just for Petunia? Because Vernon does not seem to know as much as what Petunia knows.
I mean, I think that letter was just for Petunia, but she shared that one with Vernon. Like, hey, Harry's parents were brutally murdered. They say we have to raise Harry now. This sucks. Sorry. You know, like I'm sure Vernon knew enough about why they had to do it to put up with it. But I think there's probably been letters since then. Like, I bet there was a time after Harry went...
Yeah, I think there must be a private letter.
Yeah, I think at least one. I think there's a likely possibility that when Harry went away to Hogwarts first year, Petunia sent a letter to the only person she knows, Dumbledore, and said, hey, can he just stay there? Can we be done? Like, can we be freed of this burden? You know? And Dumbledore was like, no, you can't for reasons. I'm sure that happened at least at one point. Like, can I just be done with this? Like, you guys keep him. Or like, hey, he keeps leaving early to go hang out with his friends. Why can't they have him? You know? Like, I'm sure some sort of that tried to get out of it. But
sure that Petunia knows that, like, I think he must have explained it's some way that he has to stay with them. And so that's why he's like, remember my last, where he must have referenced to Petunia that Harry, it's important for reasons that Harry needs to stay. I don't think he told her the whole thing because it's Dumbledore, but that's why it's remember my last. And so I feel like he must have just had a conversation with Petunia. And that's why she changes and she's like, oh, he has to stay.
Yes. I wonder about that conversation. Like, I wonder if he was like, listen, because you're his blood family, he'll probably just die if he stays with anyone else. And even though Petunia doesn't particularly like Harry, the idea of a child dying as a human being with empathy, or like her sister, who at one point she looked up to probably, dying, and her son then dying because Petunia's too lazy to raise him. It like, I wonder if it was like guilt tripping her in that way, or I wonder if he just flat out Dumbledored it and just like emotionally manipulated her and being like, Petunia, if you kick Harry Potter out, I will send your husband a copy of all the letters you sent me begging to go to Hogwarts.
I definitely think there is some manipulation there because Dumbledore kind of like, he knows Petunia from a young age that she wrote to him and asking like, hey, can I come to Hogwarts? So my sister's going there. I want to go there too. And he was very nice to her, being like, oh, sorry, you don't have magic, can't come. And that's when she decided that she hated magic. Yeah.
Yeah. Did he play on whatever elements of empathy she has, saying like, Harry will probably just die before he makes it old enough to do anything if you don't keep him? Did he blackmail her, saying, I'll send your husband the letters if you begging to go to Hogwarts? Or do you think he like explained to her the long-term repercussions in a way that selfishly she would understand? Like, if Harry dies, the bad guys are going to win. Muggles will be enslaved and or killed. That includes your son. And the only thing you can do to protect them is you don't have magic. You can't fight Voldemort. You can't protect Dudley from wizards. The only way you can protect your family from having the wizards take over, subjugate your family, and kill you is by making sure Harry makes it old enough to do something about it. So she resents Harry for being there. She hates Harry. She thinks it's all Harry's fault that that's even an option in the world. But if he dies, she's failed to protect her family that she does care about. Because there's so many ways Dumbledore could manipulate her. And I think that's probably one of them. Just like, hey, this is what happens when dark wizards gain power. This is what happens to the people you actually care about when dark wizards gain power. The only way you can impact that outcome at all is by keeping an eye on Harry. That's it.
Yeah, but the chapter kind of ends with Harry realizing that Petunia has some kind of contact with the magical world, and he's trying to ask her all these questions, like who sent the letter, who are you in contact with, and she's just not having it. Verdon's upset that Harry's staying and he doesn't understand. Dudley's still kind of like
traumatized,
half comatose, and so she just sends Harry to his room, and that's kind of how the chapter ends. So a lot in Order of the Phoenix is kind of happening in these chapters compared to older books, or not older books, but previous books, where it's more of, you know, just kind of summing up Harry's life until this moment, and then eventually he gets to go to the Weasleys or Hogwarts or something. But here Harry's actively like being like attacked and realizing that like the Petunia at least knows more. Mrs. Figg knows more than she let on.
Mm-hmm. Sort of the veil of separation between Harry's magical life and Muggle life is sort of thinning in this book, for sure.
We didn't really talk about Mrs. Figg's confrontation with Mundungus, but Mundungus obviously comes back, and he's just like, hey, Figgy, what's going on? And she's like bashing him with like her purse full of cat food, being like, Dementors came, you
nitwit or whatever.
You idiot. Yeah. And then, because she's all concerned about, we need to get a message to Dumbledore before things happen. And of course, Mundungus is like, well, I'll go do that. But our first kind of experience about like what kind of character Mundungus is.
He's flighty, he's unreliable, he struggles to understand the importance of different tasks. He's selfish, he's immature.
But also it was a good business opportunity.
Oh, those stolen cauldrons.
Yeah, but do you have any other remarks before we wrap up?
I think my biggest takeaway from this chapter is just being interested in how Dumbledore manipulated Petunia Like, I really wish I could get my eyes on that last letter to see what method he used, because it would say a lot about Dumbledore and maybe a little bit about Petunia. If it was just, that is your sister's child, that is all that's left of her, any part of you that still loved her needs to protect that child, I would soften to Petunia just a marginal bit. But if it's just like, if Harry dies, Dudley's in danger, I'd be like, oh, fucking Petunia, you know? Or I'll expose you wanting to be magic to your husband.
It's something that wasn't really ever cleared up. We do know that Dumbledore wrote this letter because he tells Harry at the end of Order of the Phoenix, but we don't get really the context of like what his letter to Petunia was.
Yeah, what his last said.
And I do think that would have given us more like information about Petunia as a character and her motivations, which would have been nice to know.
I agree. I also, again, think Harry should just let loose with the lawsuits. I know he's real busy right now, but like, you know, when he graduates Hogwarts, he's got time. He's got money. What else are you going to do?
I think I was a bit nonchalant at the beginning, but it is really amazing that we reached 100 episodes. As we said before, this was like kind of a COVID project for us, and we didn't really know if we'd be doing all the books we wanted to, and we're just really still enjoying this. And despite how busy we are, we do like getting together and discussing the Harry Potter books.
It is fun for us.
And just thank you. Yeah, just thank you for everyone who has listened so far. And if you would like, you just send us on social media or email or wherever you listen to your podcasts, any favorite moments or episodes or anything. We'd love to hear your thoughts and
comments, concerns, criticisms.
Yes. And of course, I am trying to do some kind of fun thing to post on social media to celebrate 100 episodes. I just don't know timeline-wise because I'm quite busy with school, but I'm definitely going to try and get that out there when this goes up. So for future Tori, I hope that happens.
I believe in you, future Tori.
But thank you for listening to this episode of Potter Revisited, and we will be back for Chapter 3 of Order of the Phoenix, The Advanced Guard. You can reach out to us on social media at Potter Revisited. Bless you. And you can email us any thoughts or concerns at potterrevisitedpodcast@gmail.com. And we'll see you next time.
Bye.